If what we're talking about is not impeachable, then nothing is impeachable. This is precisely the misconduct that the framers created a Constitution, including impeachment, to protect against. And if there's no action, if Congress concludes they're going to give a pass to the president here, as Professor Carlin suggested earlier, every other president will say, okay, then I can do the same thing, and the boundaries will just evaporate. And those boundaries are set up by the Constitution, and we may be witnessing, unfortunately, their erosion. And that is a danger to all of us.
And what can this committee and the House of Representatives do, sir, to defend those boundaries and to protect against that erosion?
Precisely what you're doing.
Hey friends, Dr. John here. So what's going on? Trump has been impeached for a third time, something no president in history has ever faced even once. What triggered it? He publicly threatened to wipe out Iran's entire civilization, posted it casually, and over 70 Democrats immediately called for his removal, with some pushing straight for the 25th Amendment. The first two impeachments he shrugged off, counting on his party to protect him.
Carlin and Gerhardt, you have identified that on the evidence here, there is an impeachable act, a high crime and misdemeanor of abuse of power, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
And Professor Feldman, what does the Constitution say is the responsibility of the House of Representatives in dealing with presidential high crimes and misdemeanors like abuse of power?
The Constitution gives the House of Representatives the sole power of impeachment. That means the House has the right and the responsibility to investigate presidential misconduct and, where appropriate, to create and pass articles of impeachment.
And Professor Carlin, what does that responsibility mean for this committee with respect to President Trump's abuse of power?
This time he's visibly rattled because the pressure is real, the momentum is different, and even he seems to know he might not walk away from this one clean. Representatives like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez did not mince words. They called Trump's threat genocidal. They urged cabinet members to refuse unlawful orders. They said this is not normal. This cannot stand.
Well, because this is an abuse that cuts to the heart of democracy, you need to ask yourselves, if you don't impeach a president who has done what this president has done, or at least you don't investigate and then impeach if you conclude that the House Select Committee on Intelligence findings are correct, then what you're saying is it's fine to go ahead and do this again. And I think that as in the report that came out last night, the report talks about the clear and present danger to the election system. And it's your responsibility to make sure that all Americans get to vote in a free and fair election next November.
And they introduced a new impeachment resolution. Not just talk, not just condemnation. Actual articles of impeachment ready to be voted on. In the House, they are debating it right now. This is happening in real time. This is not some future hypothetical. This is today. The House is actively discussing whether to impeach Trump again. And here is where it gets really interesting. Trump knows he is in trouble.
But let's take a quick look at the deeply partisan landscape on which this particularly partisan impeachment is being waged. I mean, the Democratic leaders pushing Trump's impeachment represent some of the most far-left urban coastal areas of the country. The bar graphs here show counties, and the height of the bars indicate total votes cast, and the color of the bars show the margin of victory for the winner in the 2016 presidential election. As you can see, the parts of the country represented by these Democrat impeachment leaders voted overwhelmingly for Hillary Clinton during the last presidential election. Also, during the 2016 presidential election, lawyer campaign contributions tilted 97% for Clinton, 3% for Trump. And the situation is essentially the same at law schools around the country, including those represented on the panel here today. Now, Professor Turley, I'd like to turn now to the partisan process that defines these impeachment proceedings. This is how the Nixon impeachment effort was described in the bipartisan 1974 staff report. You were talking about the initiation of the impeachment inquiry. It says this action was not partisan. It was supported by the overwhelming majority of both political parties, and it was. Regarding the authorization of the Clinton impeachment, inquiry. It was supported by all Republicans and 31 Democrats. Now fast forward to the current impeachment. The House Democrats' Trump impeachment drive was subsequently approved only by Democrats, and indeed it was approved over the opposition of 2 Democrats and all Republicans. Professor Turley, how does this trend comport with how the founders understood impeachment should operate?
Well, I believe that the founders certainly had aspirations that we would come together as a people, but they didn't have any delusions. It certainly was not something that they achieved in their own lifetime, although you'd be surprised that some of these framers actually did at the ends of their lives, including Jefferson and Adams, sort of reconcile. Indeed, I think one of the most weighty and significant moments in constitutional history is the one that is rarely discussed, that Adams and Jefferson reached out to each other, that they wanted to reconcile before they died. And they met, and they did. And maybe that is something that we can learn from. But I think that the greater thing I would point to is the 7 Republicans in the Johnson impeachment. If I could just read one thing to you, and everyone often talks about one of the senators, but not this one, and that's Lyman Trumbull, who was a fantastic senator. He became a great advocate for civil liberties. You have to understand that most of these senators, when it was said that they jumped into their political graves, it was true. Most of their political careers ended. They knew they would end because of the animosity of the period. Trumbull said the following. He said, once this set the example of impeaching a president for what, when the excitement of the hour shall have subsided, will be regarded as insufficient causes, no future president will be safe who happens to differ from the majority of the House and 2/3 of the Senate. He said, I tremble for the future of my country. I cannot be an instrument to produce such a result, and at the hazard of the ties, even of friendship and affection, till calmer times shall do justice to my motives, no alternatives are left to me. And he proceeded to give the vote that ended his career. You can't wait for calmer times. The time for you is now. And I would say that what Trumbull said has even more bearing today, because I believe that this is much like the Johnson impeachment. It's manufactured until you build a record. I'm not saying you can't build a record, but you can't do it like this, and you can't impeach a president like this.
He genuinely knows, because the day after his Iran threat, he held a meeting with House Republicans, his own party, the people who are supposed to have his back. And you know what he told them? He warned them that if they lose the midterms, if Democrats take control of the House, he is facing impeachment hell. Those were his exact words. Impeachment hell. Not just impeachment. Impeachment hell. Because he knows that if Democrats get a majority, they are not going to hesitate. They are going to impeach him immediately. And this time, with public support at 52%, with even some Republicans quietly saying this went too far, he might not survive. And Trump scared? You can see it. After that initial threat, after the backlash exploded, he backtracked. He announced a ceasefire with Iran. Suddenly, Mr. Tough Guy, Mr. Whole Civilization Will Die, is talking about ceasefires and diplomacy. Why? Because his advisors probably told him that he just handed Democrats everything they need. He just gave them impeachment on a silver platter. So he tried to walk it back, tried to soften it. But it is too late. The words are out there. The threat was made, and you cannot unring that bell. Senator Chris Murphy put it perfectly. He said, no sane president pledges to eradicate a civilization. No sane president. And that word, sane, is the key. Because what Trump did, what he threatened, is not the action of a rational leader. It is not even the action of a typical authoritarian strongman. It is the action of someone who has completely lost the plot. Someone so consumed by his own ego and his own need to appear powerful that he will threaten literal genocide just to look tough. And the American people see it. 52% support impeachment. That is more than half the country. That is not just Democrats. That is independents. That is some Republicans who are finally saying, okay, this is too much, even for us, even with everything we have defended, even with all the scandals we have ignored, threatening to wipe out an entire civilization. That is where we draw the line. And that is terrifying for Trump, because his whole strategy has always been to rally the base, keep them fired up, keep them loyal. As long as they stick with him, he is safe. But when even his own supporters start questioning him, when even Republicans are quietly distancing themselves, he is in trouble. Let us talk about the 25th Amendment for a second, because that is the nuclear option. That is the thing Trump fears most. Impeachment, he can fight. He can rally his base. He can attack Democrats. He can play the victim. But the 25th Amendment requires his own cabinet to turn on him, his own people, the people he appointed. And if they decide he is unfit, if they invoke the 25th, he is done immediately. No trial, no debate, just removed. And right now, over 70 Democrats are calling for exactly that. They are saying to cabinet members, do your job, protect the country, remove this man before he does something truly catastrophic. Now, will the cabinet actually do it? Probably not. Most of them are Trump loyalists. Most of them owe their positions to him. But the fact that it is even being discussed, the fact that members of Congress are publicly calling for it, that is unprecedented. That is a level of political crisis we have not seen in modern history. And Trump knows it. He can feel the walls closing in. He can see the momentum building. And for the first time, maybe ever, he is genuinely scared that this might be it. This might be the thing that finally takes him down. So let us really break down what happened here, because there is a lot going on beneath the surface. This is not just about one bad post or one inflammatory statement. This is about a pattern of escalating rhetoric, a pattern of threatening behavior, a pattern of Trump pushing boundaries further and further until finally he went too far. That threat against Iran was the breaking point. That was the moment where even people who have defended Trump for years started saying, wait, this is not okay. Let us start with the post itself. Trump wrote on Truth Social that Iran's whole civilization will die. Not their government, not their military, their civilization. That is the language of genocide. That is the language of ethnic cleansing. That is the kind of thing you hear from the worst dictators in history, not from the President of the United States. And the fact that Trump just posted it like it was a normal thing to say, that is what is so disturbing. It shows he either does not understand how horrifying that statement is, or he does not care. And I am not sure which is worse. Let us be clear about the context. This was not some off-the-cuff remark in a heated moment. This was a written post. He had time to think about it, time to edit it, time to reconsider, and he still posted it. He still threatened to eradicate an entire civilization of over 80 million people. And then, after posting it, he probably sat back and thought he looked strong, thought his base would love it, thought it would make him seem tough and decisive, but instead, it backfired spectacularly. Within hours, Democrats were mobilizing. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of the most prominent progressive voices in Congress, immediately called the threat genocidal. She said this crosses every line, every moral boundary, every legal standard. And she called on cabinet members to refuse any unlawful orders from Trump. Because here is the thing. If Trump actually tried to follow through on that threat, if he ordered military action designed to wipe out Iranian civilization, that would be illegal. That would be a war crime. And military leaders would have a legal duty, a moral duty, a duty to humanity to refuse that order. Other Democratic representatives joined the chorus. They said Trump's rhetoric is dangerous. It is destabilizing. It puts American lives at risk. Because when you threaten an entire country, when you talk about wiping out their civilization, you are not just engaging in tough talk. You are provoking. You are escalating. You are making conflict more likely. And if conflict does break out, American soldiers are the ones who pay the price. American lives are at risk. And for what? So Trump can feel powerful? So he can score political points with his base? And here is what makes this even more damning. Trump has a history of this kind of rhetoric. During his first term, he talked about fire and fury against North Korea. He threatened to totally destroy them. People were terrified, genuinely scared that he might start a nuclear war. But eventually he backed down. He pivoted to diplomacy. He met with Kim Jong-un, and people breathed a sigh of relief. But now, in his second term, he is back to the same playbook, threatening total destruction, threatening civilizations. And people are wondering, is he going to back down this time, or is he finally going to follow through on one of these threats? That is what makes makes this so scary. Trump has proven he is unpredictable. He is impulsive. He makes decisions based on emotion rather than strategy. And when you combine that with rhetoric about destroying civilizations, people are right to be terrified. Military experts are right to be concerned. And members of Congress are right to be calling for his removal. This is not just bad policy. This is dangerous. This is existentially dangerous. Now let us talk about the impeachment push, because this is not like the previous two impeachments. This time, the momentum is different. The political landscape is different. The public support is different. When Trump was impeached the first time over Ukraine, withholding military aid to pressure a foreign government to investigate his political rival, that was serious. But Republicans rallied around him. They dismissed it as a partisan witch hunt, and he was acquitted. The second impeachment, inciting an insurrection, was even more serious. A few Republicans voted to convict, but not enough. He survived again. But this third push is different because the public is on board. 52% support impeachment. That is huge. That is more than half the country saying this guy needs to go. And it is not just Democrats. Polling shows independents are breaking heavily in favor of removal. And even some Republicans quietly, privately are saying this went too far. They will not say it publicly because they are scared of Trump's base, scared of getting primaried, scared of losing their seats, but behind closed doors, they know. They know Trump crossed the line, and Trump knows this too. That is why he held that meeting with House Republicans the day after his Iran threat, the day after Democrats started mobilizing for impeachment. He looked at his own party, the people who are supposed to protect him, and he warned them. He said, if we lose the midterms, if Democrats take the House, I am facing impeachment hell. That word hell is telling. It shows Trump genuinely fears what is coming. He is not brushing this off. He is not acting like it is no big deal. He is scared, and he should be, because here is the reality. The midterms are coming. They are just months away. And right now, Trump's approval rating is in the toilet. 55% disapproval. That is historically bad. And Democrats are fired up. They are energized. They are motivated. They see a chance to take back the House. And if they do, Trump is done. The Democratic House will impeach him immediately. No hesitation, no delay. They will draft articles, they will vote, and he will be impeached for the third time. But will he be removed? That is the harder question. Impeachment is one thing, conviction is another. The Senate has to hold a trial, they have to vote, and they need a 2/3 majority to convict and remove. Right now, Republicans still control enough seats to block that. So even if Trump is impeached again, he will probably survive the Senate trial again. But here's the thing, even if he survives, the damage is done. The political cost is real. Being impeached 3 times, that is his legacy. That is what history will remember. Not his policies, not his accomplishments, his impeachments. And then there is the 25th Amendment, the other path to removal. This one Trump really fears because the 25th Amendment does not require a trial, does not require a Senate vote. It just requires his cabinet to say he is unfit and he is gone immediately. Right now, over 70 Democrats are calling for exactly that. They are saying to cabinet members, you have a duty. You see what we all see. This man just threatened genocide. This man is unstable. This man should not have access to nuclear weapons. Remove him. Invoke the 25th. Do your job. Realistically, will Trump's cabinet turn on him? Probably not. Most of them are loyalists. Most were appointed because they would be loyal. But the fact that it is even being discussed, the fact that members of Congress are openly calling for it, that is damaging. That is embarrassing. That undermines Trump's authority. Because even if the cabinet does not act, the message is clear. There are people in government, serious people, who think the president is unfit, who think he is dangerous, who think he needs to be removed for the safety of the country. And Trump tried to walk it back. After the backlash, after the impeachment calls, after the 25th Amendment talk, he announced a ceasefire with Iran. Suddenly, he is talking about diplomacy and de-escalation. But we all know what this is. This is damage control. This is Trump realizing he went too far and trying to backtrack. But the problem is the words are out there. The threat was made. And you cannot just unsay something like that. You cannot threaten to wipe out a civilization and then a day later say, just kidding, let us talk peace. That is not how this works. Senator Chris Murphy nailed it. He said no sane president pledges to eradicate a civilization. And that word sane, that is what this all comes down to. Is Trump fit to serve? Is he mentally stable enough to be president? Is he capable of making rational decisions? Or has he completely lost it? And more people, including people in his own party, are starting to think the answer is no. He is not fit. He is not stable. and he needs to be removed before he does something truly catastrophic. Let us break this down into the essentials, because there is a lot happening here. Impeachment, the 25th Amendment, Iran threats, Trump panicking, public support shifting. It is a mess. But when you strip away the noise, when you focus on what actually matters, it comes down to 3 core points that will determine what happens next. Trump crossed a line that even his supporters cannot defend. This is huge because Trump has said a lot of crazy stuff over the years, a lot of inflammatory things, a lot of things that made people uncomfortable. But his base always found a way to defend it. They said he is just being tough. He is just telling it like it is. He is just fighting back against the establishment. Whatever excuse they needed, they made it work. But this time, threatening to wipe out an entire civilization, that is different. That is not tough talk. That is genocidal rhetoric. And even Trump's most loyal supporters are struggling to spin that. The numbers prove it. 52% of Americans support impeachment. That includes independents. That includes people who voted for Trump. That includes people who defended him through everything else. But this was too much. There is a difference between being controversial and being dangerous. There is a difference between pushing boundaries and threatening genocide. Trump just erased that line completely, and Republicans know this. That is why so few of them are publicly defending Trump's Iran threat. A handful made weak statements about how we need to be tough on Iran, but most of them are just quiet, silent, hoping it blows over because they know they cannot defend it. They know if they try to spin threatening an entire civilization as acceptable presidential behavior, they will lose their own voters. So they are staying quiet, and that silence is telling. That is Republicans quietly admitting this was too far. Trump is genuinely scared, and we know this because of his actions. The meeting with House Republicans where he warned about impeachment hell, the sudden pivot to a ceasefire with Iran, the attempt to walk back his rhetoric, all of it shows a man who knows he is in trouble, who knows he miscalculated, who knows he might actually face consequences this time. For someone like Trump, who spent his entire life avoiding accountability, who has always managed to wriggle out of trouble, this must be terrifying. Here is what Trump is facing. Impeachment in the House is almost certain if Democrats win the midterms. And the midterms are just months away. His approval is terrible. 55% disapproval. That is catastrophic. Democrats are motivated. They are energized. They see blood in the water. There's a very real possibility that in a few months, Trump loses his Republican shield in the House and then impeachment comes immediately. No hesitation. And even if he survives the Senate trial, even if Republicans in the Senate protect him again, the damage is done. Being impeached 3 times is unprecedented. It is historically shameful. It is a legacy of chaos, scandal, and incompetence. Trump knows this. He can see where this is heading. For once, he cannot bluster his way out. He cannot tweet his way out. He cannot rally his base to make it all go away because the momentum is against him. The public is against him. Even his own party is wavering. And then there is the 25th Amendment, the thing Trump fears most. If his cabinet turns on him, if they decide he is unfit, he is gone. No trial, no debate, just removed. 70+ Democrats are calling for exactly that. They are putting pressure on cabinet members. They are saying, you have a duty. You see what we all see. This man is dangerous. Remove him. Even though the cabinet probably will not act, the fact that it is being discussed is damaging. It undermines Trump's authority. It makes him look weak and unstable. For someone as obsessed with appearing strong as Trump, that is torture. This is all building to a breaking point, and we are going to hit it soon. Trump cannot keep doing this. He cannot keep threatening countries. He cannot keep making genocidal statements. He cannot keep pushing boundaries and assuming there will be no consequences. Eventually, something has to give. Either the House will impeach him, and this time the Senate will convict, or the cabinet will invoke the 25th, or he will do something so catastrophic that even his loyalists abandon him. Something is going to break. The signs are all there. Public support for impeachment at 52%. Democrats mobilizing. House debate happening right now. Cabinet pressure mounting. Trump's own admission that he is facing impeachment hell. All of it points to a crisis that is accelerating, that is building, that is heading towards some kind of resolution. And that resolution is probably not going to be good for Trump. Here is the thing about patterns. Trump has a pattern of escalation. He says something inflammatory, gets backlash, doubles down, says something worse, gets more backlash, and the cycle continues. continues. Each time, he pushes a little further. He crosses another line. He tests another boundary. And so far, he has gotten away with it. But there is a limit. There is a point where even the most patient system, even the most broken institutions finally say enough. Trump is approaching that point. Maybe he has already passed it. The Iran threat might be the thing that finally breaks the camel's back. That might be the moment historians look back on and say, that is when it all fell apart for Trump. That is when he went too far. That is when even his supporters could not defend him anymore. If that is true, if this really is the beginning of the end, then we are watching history unfold in real time. We are watching a presidency collapse under the weight of its own recklessness. So where does this leave us? Trump is scared. The House is debating impeachment right now. The 25th Amendment is being discussed. Trump's own party is quietly distancing themselves. It is all coming together, all building towards something. And whatever that something is, it is going to happen soon. This level of political pressure, this level of public anger, this level of institutional concern cannot sustain indefinitely. Something has to give. And maybe, just maybe, this is finally it. This is finally the moment where Trump faces real consequences, where the system actually holds him accountable, where threatening genocide actually matters, where being impeached 3 times actually means something. The next few weeks and months are going to be critical. The midterms will be critical. The House vote will be critical. And Trump knows all of this. He can feel it. And for the first time, maybe ever, he is genuinely terrified that his luck has finally run out.